Alright, it is time to make some egg noodles. I've already got my 2 eggs in a bowl, and I will show you the recipe. So this is just a basic egg noodles recipe. 2 large eggs, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of milk, and 1.5 to 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now I'm going to fancy this up, and my bread machine is what's going in the background. In the background I'm making some potato bread. So I've got the 2 eggs already in the bowl. I need a little bit of salt. 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Now if you're unsure how to measure that, you can always do it like this. Put some in your hand and go, hey, that looks about right. Hey, that looks about right. Toss it in. And I need, that's my crusty potato bread. I need 1.5 cups to 2 cups all-purpose flour. That is going to be, 1 cup of flour is 120 grams. So we're going to do 180 grams of flour. And I'm going to tare this. 180 grams of flour, and I'm going to go ahead and start with this flour that I rescued from the bread. And probably this is going to be it for this bag. Oh no, the bag is empty. That is 207 grams of flour. So perfect. I'm not going to complain about that. All I did was dump the whole bag in, and I thought it might be pretty close to 180, and it certainly is. So there it is. This also means that I need to get some more flour to dust the table with. And you know what? I still have my little bag of flour that I bought several weeks ago, little bag. So we're going to set that down here. And I need some milk. I better get some milk out of the fridge. So I've got my milk. Just the same milk I've been working with. And this recipe I can make courtesy of the food pantry. The only thing that the food pantry isn't giving me is the spices. And I'll put some spices in this too. So I'm going to dry off my hands and move the camera with this paper towel that I'm about to dry my hands off with. Because I swear if I wash my hands one more time, I'm gonna be like mixing my food with like the bones. I'm gonna like scrub all the skin and muscle off. So let's see if I can do it. I'm gonna try and move this camera without touching it. There we go. I succeeded. Okay. So I'm going to mix this. And as needed, I am going to add some milk. But the salt and flour is in here, so I'm just going to mix it up. And all of this is courtesy of the food pantry. I could not have done this without the food pantry. You know, I might have to wash my hands to deal with the milk. That kind of sucks, but this is all getting mixed up, and I'm going to add a little bit of milk. Forgot to take the lid off the milk, that's great. Okay, so I've mixed up the eggs and the flour. I'm going to add just a little bit of milk, and I'm going to add some spices. I'm going to add some onion powder, and I'm going to add some garlic powder. So these are going to be garlic onion egg noodles, and I'm going to make them, it's going to be chicken and noodles. And then I think I'll have enough to maybe freeze a little bit of this. It's a little bit warmer now than it was this morning, which is nice. And by a little bit, I mean a little bit. It's 28 degrees instead of 18. So yeah, good. All right, so now I'm just gonna mix it up. It smells good with these spices in it. And I'm gonna probably dump most of this bag of flour on here. And I'm gonna turn this out onto it. And I just want to mix this up like I've been mixing my egg noodles up the whole way. The only difference is that this has got spices in it, and my other egg noodles didn't have any spices. And it's a bigger batch. I'm making a bigger batch of egg noodles. And yes, I did forget to take off my jewelry. Well, I'll take off my jewelry and be back. Alright, it is tough to wear jewelry and cook. Especially if you're doing stuff from scratch. So, alright. Let's just mix up these egg noodles, these spicy, oniony, garlicky egg noodles. And if you're wondering why I didn't put any cayenne or red pepper flakes in this stuff, sometimes I do. So we just want it to pull together. I might need, I think that's good. Oh wait, there's way more right there. Alright, so I might need some more milk. That's not good because I think I put the milk up. I did. Well, let's keep kneading and see what happens. Yep, I think these are going to be too dry. So these noodles are going to be too dry. So here's what you do. You put a little hole in the thing, and then you drop just a little more liquid in there. Alright, so that sucks. If you've got more than one person in the house, it's a lot easier because they can add some extra ingredients without you having to wash your hands a lot. Alright, so I'm just going to re-knead this, and it should loosen up. And keep in mind that this isn't, everybody's like, oh, cooking is an exact science. No, it's not. If you notice something wrong with your stuff, you can add more flour. You can add more liquid. There's nothing saying that you can't do those things. And now these are looking real good. Yep, this is much easier to deal with. So I want to do this. And I'm going to dust the surface with some flour. While I start pressing out these egg noodles. And it's going to be more than I made in the previous 2 egg noodle videos. And if you'll notice, I still haven't found anything to roll my egg noodles out with. But if you're just making a little bit, I don't know why you should dirty all those dishes. I mean, it's going to dirty enough dishes anyway. So you're just going to pound these out like you do, like I've done in my previous videos. And I turn it over and spin it around so that I can hit it at different angles. Like, because it's easier for me to get to the side that's closest to me than it is for me to get to that far side. And you can do a lot with these noodles. You can make spaghetti with them. You can put them in soups and stews. If you do like a Cincinnati chili, where it's got spaghetti noodles in it, you can use these egg noodles as substitute spaghetti noodles. And I'm just just stretching it out. I'm not pounding my noodles, I'm stretching it out. And you can see this is more noodles than I've made in the past. I tell you, the spices are making them smell real good. And how thin do I have it? I think just about done and almost ready to cut. And it does take longer to squish it by hand than it would if I had a rolling pin. But me and rolling pins don't seem to get along. Alright, I think that looks pretty good, so we're just going to fold it over. And I'm going to go get a knife. Alright, I've got the knife and I am ready to cut the noodles. In theory, the knife is ready. And you don't have to have any sort of special knife to cut your noodles. You just need to cut them. And you just cut it and unroll it. And you can make these as thin or as thick as you like. They will get bigger when you put them in the water or broth. And if you don't like how thin they are, you can just press them down a little bit more. This is going to make quite a few noodles. These are going to be a little bit longer than my other ones too, because it's basically a full order of egg noodles is what this is, or a full recipe. And you can add whatever, spices you want to these egg noodles. I added onion powder and garlic, but you can add whatever you want. You could even add Parmesan cheese if you wanted to. And if you wanted to make a stuffed noodle, you just unroll it, put it in your filling, and then press it together like I did those pie crusts the other day. Yeah, it's just more scrap. Alright, so let's see what we got. Well, I don't know that I've got enough to freeze. Maybe. We'll see. So what is awesome about this is that I actually have a can of chicken broth, and I've got a container of beef broth too. Alright, so I found a dent in that can. Not a problem, I have beef broth. So chicken and noodles with beef broth? Well, sure, why not? Yep, this is why I request broth like every week. This broth is good until February 27, 2025. So, it should still be good even though the box is a tad dented. There's no holes in it and it's not leaking, so. But I can always look at it and make sure that it's something I want to use. So I will. And I think it looks fine. So this looks a lot like the last container of beef broth that I had. Alright, so I'm making chicken and noodles, and I'm cooking the chicken and noodles in beef broth. This falls under stuff happens. And I might be able to get all those noodles in there. Thought I would make more, but I don't think I did. So here is all the noodles I made. And here's the beef broth. It looks real good, so I'm going to use it. I'm just waiting for it to heat up. There's my counter with all the cooking that I've done today. Alright, so my broth is steaming, so that's good. And before you touch anything, always wash your hands, even if you've already washed your hands 10,000 times before. So what I'm going to do, here it is. When I made my chicken and noodles before, I put some chicken in a bag. And this is what I'm going to use for today's chicken and noodles. The other half of the can that I did not use the other day. Alright, so that was very, very strange. When I turned the bag over, which I would normally never do, I saw some sort of speck in with my chicken. And I gotta say, I don't know what caused that, but I have plenty of canned chicken, so I'll just use a whole can of chicken. It's not a problem. I ask for chicken every week, so there's plenty of... I have plenty of canned chicken. I have another whole can. Normally I would split this in half and freeze half of it, but I am way out of bags. So that's not going to happen, but I can use a whole can of chicken. And now it is time to add the noodles. And I'm not sure how many noodles will fit in here. My thought was to put some in a bread bag and freeze them, but to be honest, I bet all of these can go in here. These are a little longer than what I normally do, so I'm breaking the really long ones into thirds. And I don't think this is quite hot enough. So I'm going to wait a little bit more. If it's not hot enough, the noodles will stick to each other. And there's nothing wrong with leaving the noodles. There's nothing wrong with leaving the noodles sit on the counter like this. Nothing wrong with it at all. Alright, it is time for me to add some more noodles. This water is boiling. Beef broth. So I am going to add some more noodles because it's finally boiling. In fact, it's boiling so much that the noodles that I put in there about 10-15 minutes ago, they're floating, so they're actually done. Oopsies. But I'm in the process of editing a different video while I'm making this video. I tend to do all my food videos on the weekend. So it's a Saturday, and what I'm doing are next week's videos, but I'm also doing my food for the next several days. So if you don't do your food like in advance, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. I'm just going to put these noodles in here. However many of them will fit. I'm not sure how many will fit. And just keep in mind, this dinner and lunch and however many meals it makes, it was free courtesy of the food pantry. Now I had to do some work. You know, I had to make the noodles, and I'll have some bread with it. I had to make the bread. All right, let me stir this and see what's going on. This is my chicken and noodles in beef broth, which doesn't make any sense, but that's what I'm doing. Oh my goodness. Well, might be able to fit a few more in there. I think I'll be mad. I'll have about one little batch of noodles left, I think, that I can freeze. Yeah, I think that's about as full as I'm going to get. There are some instructions on how to freeze these on the noodle recipe. So let's see what we got. All right, so I am going to freeze the rest of these, and let me show you how many I've got left. So this is what's not going to fit in the pot. I am going to bag these up and freeze them. Here's what is in the pot. By the time that sauce or beef broth boils down, and I add some cornstarch to it to thicken it up, it's going to be pretty perfect. So here's my noodles, and when I go to make these, I'll just drop them into boiling water from frozen. So I'm going to put these in the freezer. I'm going to lay them real flat. And that way, next time I need a little bit of noodles, say I want to have like a side of noodles and butter or something, I've got those ready to go. So the only thing I am waiting on is the noodles to cook and my loaf of bread to finish, because I'm going to have chicken and noodles in beef broth and homemade potato bread. So I'm just waiting on this to do its thing. That looks tasty. All right, I'll be back when the noodles are done. So my chicken and noodles in beef broth is done. While it cooked, I also added some additional spices, some black pepper, some onion powder, some more garlic powder, and some red pepper flakes. So this is done. All I need to do is plate it up and add some bread, and it's ready to go. So that's it for this video. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.